Hey everybody, it's Terry with Terry's Tidbits. This is my favorite session of all of the Fundamentally Flow, and it's because we get to play a game, and it helps us understand loops at the same time, so we get to have fun with a game, and we get to understand the complexity of a loop. It's super fast, so let's go ahead and get in and have a little fun with this one. Hey everyone, it's Terry with Terry's Tidbits. I am so glad you're here. All right, our use case for this video is this. Our HR department has come to us and they said, hey, we would like to have a screen element that shows us the number of open positions that we have available and the number of positions that we have filled. And to do this, we have a positions object in Salesforce that has a status field, and that status field is simply opened, filled. There's a couple other statuses that don't matter. And so we're going to jump into a flow, and this will be a screen flow. We already have a get element defined here for us, and it looks like this. This get element simply grabs from our position object all of our records that are opened and or filled, so we get both, and it puts them into this variable simply called positions from get positions. Now we are going to loop through all of those records, and to do that we're going to add our loop element here to the screen. We're going to call it loop positions, and our collection that we're looping through. And remember, a collection is just simply more than one record. There's our collection. We're going to go from the first to the last and click done. That creates the beginning of this circle that we will loop through as we go through this particular assignment. All right, so here we are on our desk, and we are going to play the game of Slapjack. We have 4 players, each represented by their own deck of cards. And the way that the game Slapjack works is this, is that a card is turned over, and the card that's faced up, if that card is a jack, then the first of the 4 players that slap their hand on that pile of cards gets to keep those cards, and they can add them to their pile. Now, player 1 here turned over an ace heart, or a heart. Yeah, that's an ace. And it's a very strange set of cards. This one is a 2 of clubs. We have a king. And what I like about the game of Slapjack is this, is that the card that matters, the only card that matters, is the card that's currently faced up in the middle of the pile. These other cards that are in our deck, they don't matter, nor do the cards that have been played that were once face up, they were replaced, they don't matter either. And so I'm going to go around until I find a jack. So the 10 is now my card faced up. There's a 2. That card that is faced up, that's the only card that matters to me. And I'm going to keep going. We'll see when we get to a jack here, hopefully sometime soon. There's a joker. All right, we'll keep moving. Goodness, good thing the video. There's a jack, and so I slap my hand on that pile. If I'm the first player, I get to keep all of those cards and add them to my stack. Now, the thing with the game of Slapjack is very simple. The only card that matters is the card that is faced up. Now, when we think about loops inside of Salesforce, the only card that matters is the one that is faced up. Inside Salesforce, Salesforce is going to call that card, that record, current item from loop. Loop is my collection. That's my entire deck of cards. But when I come in from that loop inside that circle, it assigns a single card. The card that's faced up is assigned as current item from loop. So with that, knowing that I have just now a single card that I'm working with or a single record inside this loop, I can start to do things now against that record. So if I, in my use case, need to count the number of opened and the number of closed positions, the first thing I might look at is, well, what's the status of the card that is currently face up? And so that is a decision that we would need to make. So we're going to add a decision to our flow, and it's going to simply look at that status field. So I'm going to call it decision status. The label, let's say we need to count open positions, and so that is going to simply be right here from this single variable record, current item from loop. That's my card that's faced up. I'm going to select into that, and I want to go to the status field all the way at the bottom. If the status equals open, that will be one of my options. Now, in a decision within Flow, we have the ability to have multiple paths or multiple outcomes that this particular decision, that the decision element can create for us. So I'm going to add another path that is our filled position counts. And so we'll call it filled current item from loop, where my status equals filled. And then if it's neither of those two, it will go through this path called default outcome. I'm not a big fan of that name. I always give it something more meaningful. And for me, in this case, it's just simply skip. So I now can visually see my current card, my current item from loop is going to come down. It's going to work through this decision and go down one of these three paths. If it's open, I need to assign a value to increment a variable that we're going to call number of open positions. So let's go ahead and create a assignment, assign open count. And I need a variable to assign values to for that. So I'm going to create a new variable. I'm going to call it number open positions. It's going to have a data type of number, 0 decimal points, and a default value of 0. I'm going to select done. And anytime that card or that record, current item from loop, runs through this particular element, I want to increment that number of open positions by 1. And I simply do that by changing my operator here to an and I add the value of 1. If it comes in there and the variable is set at 0, I add 1. It means that it's going to now be equal to 1. Next time it comes through, it'll be 1, add 1, 1 plus 1 equals 2, and so forth. So there's that assignment. Let's do the same assignment real quick here on the filled. We'll call it assign filled count. I need a new resource here as well. It's a variable, number filled count. Data type is a number, decimals 0, default value 0, and we'll select done. Again, we're going to add 1 anytime this particular card runs through this particular assignment. If it's neither of these two, it goes down the skip path. All three of them come back down to this particular spot in our flow. And since I have nothing there, it's just going to navigate back up to the top of my loop. And what happens at the top of that loop, if this is my set deck of cards, this is my collection, and I've got one card that's faced up, that's the current item from loop. When we get to the top of the loop, this card, this record is discarded, and a new record becomes current item from loop. This one will go through our circle, our loop circle, be processed, and it goes away, and the next one comes up. It goes through the circle. the next card comes up, current card from loop. It goes through. And we repeat that process all the way until we get to our final record. And when we get to the final record, there are no more to be processed. It goes away. And now we come out the backside of our loop and down the after last path. Now, if everything worked like it's supposed to, our two variables, our two resource variables that we defined, the number of open position and number of filled position counts, they should now have a total value for us inside those. And if I want to then display that to for our HR staff to see, I would just simply come down here to my screen. And I am going to give this a label. We'll call it screen counts. And I don't really need to have a header on this, so I'm going to take the header away. I also don't need to navigate anywhere because there is really no next or previous that matter to me, so I'm going to get rid of all of that information. I get just a simple white space now, and I'm going to slide down here and throw a section on my screen. And with that section, I am able to add a column, and I can break that now, one column into two columns. And I'm going to then bring a display text up here, and I'm going to bring one in over here as well. I'm going to call this one display filled positions. And I'm going to insert that variable that we had in BR filled. And we're going to try that again in BR filled. I found that if you use your keyboard to select these, you won't have the problem that I just did where I selected it with my mouse and it didn't go in. If we use the keyboard, I don't know why, but it does seem to work with the keyboard. Now, I want to give it a label here too, so let's call it filled positions. And because we are awesome admins, that is just super boring for a screen. So let's kind of clean it up a little bit, make it a little bit more exciting. We'll make it bold, let's center it, and then let's make the count much, much bigger. Let's jump that up to like 36. There we go, that looks nicer. Let's do the same thing over here on our opened. And this one will be display open count. That's going to then also need our number. And let's try to see if we can use our mouse, or I'm sorry, our keyboard to select this. This isn't going to work. I can't get my keyboard to select this. We'll just do it twice. There it is. We have our open position count, and we're going to call this open positions. And again, let's clean this up and make it look a little bit nicer. We'll go bold, underlined, and make our number actually much, much bigger. 36. And we'll select done. And now, if I save this, let's see, this is on the position object, so I'm going to start my name with the object that it's related to. Use a pipe, I'd say screen flow, so I'm going to call it SF for screen flow, and then I'm going to give it a more meaningful name that says display position status counts, and then save that. Now, once this saves, I'm going to get this little error message that simply is coming up because I took the navigation off of our screen. It wants to assume that you need to navigate somewhere. In this case, we're just displaying it on the screen, and so it's okay that I have this particular error. I'm going to run this, and let's just see if we have any positive results here. And we do. We have 6 open position and 3 that have been filled. So that is a little bit broader than just loops, but the concept there of loops, it is simply a game of slapjack. The only card, the only record that matters when you're inside the loop is the card that is faced up, and that card is called current item from loop. I hope that was helpful for you to, it's really kind of just a fun way to understand loops. It's just a game of slapjack. Have a great rest of your day.